Thousands of years before rockets, a king launched a primitive space race. He intended to fly high enough to physically assassinate the divine. We are in ancient Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization, where power was measured in millions of mud bricks stacked into the sky. Ruling this vast expanse was King Nimrod. Remembered as a hunter, he was the first monarch to demand the worship reserved for a god. Like the pharaohs of Egypt, Nimrod used monumental scale to cement his status as a living deity, creating an environment where his authority appeared as inevitable as the sunrise. But an empire built on the cult of personality is fragile. It relies entirely on the public believing there is no ceiling to the king's power, and no authority higher than his throne. That framework began to crack with the arrival of Prophet Ibrahim. He introduced the revolutionary concept of Tawhid, the belief in a single, unseen creator who holds all jurisdiction. To Nimrod, this wasn't a theological debate, it was a political emergency. A god who rules the unseen world is a god who cannot be taxed, arrested, or controlled by the state. Nimrod attempted to erase the threat by throwing Ibrahim into a massive fire. When the prophet emerged unharmed, it proved that the king's power stopped at the edge of the flames. Having lost the argument and failed at the execution, Nimrod pivoted to the only logic he had left: physical warfare. If he couldn't defeat the idea of God on earth, he would attack God in the heavens. To save his reputation, Nimrod resolved to do the impossible. He began engineering a machine designed to breach the sky and fight the divine on his own turf. Islamic traditions describe a craft built on a simple chassis, a wooden chest to hold the king. Nimrod attached 4 massive starved eagles to its corners. Spears tipped with meat were mounted pointing upward. The birds flew upward in desperate pursuit of the unreachable food. The birds' frantic struggle created enough kinetic force to drag the heavy box into the air, clawing for altitude wingbeat by wingbeat. The design relied on no fuel, no aerodynamics, only the raw, desperate hunger of captive animals. The craft eventually disappeared into the clouds. As the ground faded, Nimrod believed he was finally crossing the threshold between the human and the divine. At the peak of his ascent, Nimrod drew his bow and loosed his arrow into the dark expanse above. God permitted the arrow to fall back to the craft, stained with blood. It was a divine test, offering Nimrod the exact evidence he wanted to see. He descended to earth as a conqueror, boasting to his subjects that he had successfully silenced the Lord of the worlds. Nimrod's ego was allowed to reach its peak, ensuring that his eventual downfall would be as jarring as his climb was high. Back in his palace, Nimrod settled onto his throne, certain that his reign was now eternal and that the heavens were empty. The counterattack did not arrive as a bolt of lightning or a celestial army. Instead, the sky filled with a dense swarm of mosquitoes. While the swarm harassed his troops, one tiny insect entered Nimrod's nostril and lodged itself inside his head. The king was reduced to a shell of a man. The only way to stop the constant, maddening buzzing inside his skull was to have his servants beat him on the head with their shoes. He had built a machine to wage war against the sky, but he was dismantled by a creature smaller than a grain of sand. Today, the god-kings of Mesopotamia are nothing more than weathered bricks and archaeological curiosities. Abraham's message of humility outlasted Nimrod's empire because it didn't rely on violence or monuments to survive. Nimrod died in self-inflicted misery, while Ibrahim remains the revered patriarch for billions of people across the globe. The myth of the flying machine lingers as a stark reminder of the distance between human reach and divine grasp. No matter how high a man attempts to build his throne, he remains subject to a will far more